Today we're going to be meeting with a few new clients and basically checking out their property. Had not been on the property yet. We're going to meet them and see, what kind of timber they have. Basically, they're looking to do a timber harvest centered around habitat improvement. That might be a selective harvest, then clear-cut pockets for bedding, whatever it looks like. I want to discuss that with the property owner. But basically today we're going to assess if there's enough timber there to make it worth doing a sale. So I'm excited about this one. There's two separate parcels. The one, the landowner will be there. The other one, he will not be due to being out of state currently. So should work out. Excited to see what they look like. John Madison.
Nice to meet you.
Very good. So basically, I just wanted to take a run back through, see what you got, and kind of go from there. Obviously, I want to look at your neighbors as well. Then he's not going to be here, but
yeah,
we'll see what he has.
Night.
Yeah. So basically, when I do this initial look, walk through, or if we're taking the side by side, however, it doesn't have to be like we're sitting there looking at every corner of the woods. I just want to drive through, get a good feel for what you had, and that kind of helps me. I'm looking at. First of all, what your thoughts are as far as the project, what you're wanting to do, but also how many board feet I think per acre there's going to be. That gives me an average, and I can kind of, based off the species and quality, give you a rough estimate of what I think is there. What's your main goal as far as the property? I mean, just improving the hunting, or are you just looking at getting some return on investment with the timber? Or?
Well, a little bit of return, but the main thing is I don't want these trees to die.
Yeah. Yep.
Just float away.
Does the other guy, does his property butt up against yours?
Yeah, everyone knows. I don't know how big or small or.
So often, generally speaking, I'm looking for trees that are about 18 inches chest high and bigger.
Okay.
I kind of what I do when I'm looking at improving the habitat for deer specifically. Yeah. I like to do a selective harvest throughout most of it. And then if you have an area that you specifically want the deer to bed or they like to bed, then we try and go in and cut those areas a little harder, trying to make the bedding better.
Well, I've got 6 acres on the back corner back there.
Mm-hmm.
That's my main bedding area.
Okay.
It's mainly brush.
Yep.
If anything falls, I just cut the redwoods and leave the top.
Yeah. This would be probably a 20-inch tree. A white oak like this, you would want to leave. That one looks pretty healthy yet. It's stunted a little bit from growth because of the bigger red oak above it. You take that red oak out, and it suddenly gives it a lot more room to grow.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
The tank. I think that one there would just stay there. Those big bushy trees like that, there's not a lot of board feet in them to where they're really worth cutting.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to walk this back corner. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot in there. Looks like the majority of the timber's can be from here on over. So, let's just keep walking up around. So that one back there right along the path, that one leans out over, that one's big enough. Something like this, there's not really any value in.
I think the big one maybe.
I mean, nowhere near a clear cut or anything like that. But I guess it kind of comes down to, your goals for the property. It wouldn't hurt to let it go another 5-10 years, but you could also do a harvest now and get some money off of it. If you do a harvest now, it'll be a while till you could do another one, put it that way. So I guess that's kind of your call. It's something, this area here, I'm down here all the time. I'd gladly do it for you. And I want to see what Mark's looks like and see, we could maybe put them together and make it a little bit more worth people's time.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I definitely want to see what he has. I think this one by itself I probably wouldn't do.
Yeah.
But if we can, it makes sense to do both of them.
That's what we was talking about.
It'll probably make more sense for both of you guys to do that. And, yeah. Okay, very good. Well, it was good meeting you. Appreciate you letting me walk the property. And like I said, I'll let you know. We'll kind of go from there. And if hopefully it makes sense to do. So.
Okay.
Very good.
Alrighty.
Okay, we're going to keep rolling. So it's these two parcels, and he's got access up through here. Okay, this one here does not say. Okay, let's go back there and check it out. That looks like it's been cut out in the last 10 years probably to me. Meaning there's probably not going to be any, timber value there, but we're going to go down at least to the creek. That way we can kind of see up in and just kind of get a feel for how most of it is and kind of go from there. So here's a pretty good example. As you see behind me, there's quite a bit of, you know, bigger trees, but they're not quite to the level of maturity to actually do a harvest. So this is something when you're looking at purchasing a property, you have to kind of think this through a little bit, because if you buy a property that's in an in-between stage, that's, you know, pretty open and not yet ready to have a harvest done, it's pretty tough then to create good bedding cover on a property. A lot of this stuff that I'm seeing so far, we're not super deep in the property yet, but a lot of it is probably 10 years out from a harvest. And so do you really want to own a property for 10 years that you know, you potentially struggle a little bit having good bedding? Now that's not to say you can't create good bedding within an area like this, and we can, you know, definitely look at some areas on this property where there's lower grade timber, potentially the landowner going in and doing some cutting himself, creating some of these bedding pockets. But so far from what I'm seeing, it's going to be a little bit to you would be ready to, you know, have a cut done on this, and so you end up having, you know, some moderately open areas like this. And I'm expecting a lot of the property to look like this, but we'll keep walking. So that's a wrap. We looked at a good portion of this property here, which is adjacent to that one that we were just walking a little bit ago. And this property here, although it's a lot bigger, there's just not very much timber on it. It was probably cut out, I guess, you know, 10 years ago or so, and it was cut out pretty aggressively to where there's not really going to be any timber worth cutting yet. So I think it's a job that I'm going to decline for both of them. To be honest, I talk to a lot of clients, and I probably tell more that their timber's not ready to be harvested than I do. That's not to say there's not things he can do to improve this timber now, specifically around the hunting side of things. He can take a mulcher head and a skid steer, for example, in areas where he wants bedding. He can clear out those areas, open them up, and it's going to create a lot more regeneration in those pockets for bedding. He can go in and clear cut by hand even if he wants to. So there's definitely things you can do to improve a property like this. But, you know, it's a little tough on the timber side of things when the timber's just not ready to be harvested. And it'll be quite a while till it is. On the very first one, he definitely had some timber, but you'd have had to be pretty aggressive with the harvest. And it just wasn't quite at that level yet to be done. And talking to that client, you know, I don't think his main goal was necessarily, you know, so much around the hunting side of things. He was just, you know, the hunting was a byproduct of that property rather than he did not purchase that property primarily for hunting. So in a scenario like that, I feel like, you know, he had a pretty healthy woods. He had a few trees that were dying, but really, you know, people can get freaked out about that and think the whole woods is going to just start dying off, and in reality, that's not going to happen. So I think he's fine on that front, and I feel like he's better off waiting another 5-10 years to do a harvest on that piece. A tree is kind of like compound growth. As they mature and they get bigger, they are worth more per board foot, and they are also more board feet. So they have compounding effect as you let these trees grow. So if you're cutting them prematurely, you're going to sabotage that compound growth that can happen. That being said, if your main goal is the hunting side of things, even if it's not quite at the peak maturity, sometimes it can make sense to do a harvest on that, just to help the huntability of the property. All that to be said, I think we're going to, you know, advise these clients to basically either wait or potentially do some of the habitat improvements themselves. I don't think in this scenario a harvest would really benefit them that much. So I think that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one.